It was the worst kept secret in the NFL, but now Aaron Rodgers has a new weapon with the New York Jets. We got all that and much more on today's episode of Locked On NFL.
You are Locked On NFL, your daily NFL podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, football fans, and welcome into another episode of Locked On NFL, your daily podcast, bringing you all the biggest stories from around the National Football League, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Big thank you to all the everydayers out there making Locked On NFL your first listen of the day every day. We appreciate you very much being here each and every Monday through Friday. Today, it's Tuesday, so you've got Luke Braun at Luke Braun NFL on Twitter, myself, Ross Jackson, at Ross Jackson Nola on Twitter, on what social media, whatever you want to call it. We appreciate you very much for being here for another episode. On today's episode of Locked On NFL, we're going to get to our yike and like, including the return of Damar Hamlin, and it was a fun one to watch, and much more. We're also going to take a look at Ezekiel Elliott finally finding a nice backup role somewhere, and we'll also, but we're going to start off here with a look
I found a
at
warm
the NFL.
bed,
yes,
and a place to go when it rains.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And today's lead story is going to be around someone that Luke here is very, very familiar with.
Oh yeah,
Dalvin Cook finds his new home in the Big Apple, or near the Big Apple. Let's face it, they're the New Jersey Jets. Let's
all right.
So
all right. Well, that'd be nice.
All right, I'll chill. I'm sorry. That wasn't meant to be a shot. I was literally just talking about geographics, but I do remember that is actually
Bills fans licking their lips.
No, it's residual buffalo sauce. It's just residual buffalo sauce is all that they're actually is all that they're doing. So Luke, you're very familiar with Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook, an exciting addition to the New York Jets. What does he bring to Aaron Rodgers and the team up there?
It's kind of funny that after all those years in Green Bay and Minnesota, Dalvin Cook and Aaron Rodgers end up together. Aaron Rodgers
right.
holds Dalvin Cook in such a high regard. And honestly, the times where he has seen Dalvin Cook up close and personal have been some of Dalvin Cook's best games. He was always really good against like the Packers specifically, in a world where Packer run defenses had all kinds of problems. You let Peter Bukowski tell you all about that. So I wonder if there was like a, hey, get that guy. He has kept me off the field in critical situations actually kind of a lot. The 4-touchdown game in 2020 is maybe the best game, probably the best game of Dalvin Cook's career. So it's fun that they finally linked up. But what's interesting here is you have this, for a running back, elder statesman in Dalvin Cook, and then Breece Hall, who's second year guy? Yep. That as a 1-2 punch is going to be, I think, great for the Jets. I think right now Jets fans are kind of thinking, wait, we kind of had this exciting dude. Why do we have this other bona fide starter coming in? But both of these guys have major injury concerns. Yeah. Dalvin Cook has this shoulder thing that bugged him for 3 years. He got a surgery on it. Everybody in his camp says he's good to go. It'll never bother him again. He didn't do the surgery for 3 years, and that's why it kept coming up. So the problem's just fixed. He did it. But now we have to test that theory. And he's also had some knee issues. He's had sprains. He tore his ACL his rookie year. You have Breece Hall, who also, I think, tore his ACL, right? So there is just this world where one of these guys doesn't stay healthy, and now you have the other one, and that is very helpful to Jets fans. But also, Dalvin Cook is a very smart runner. He's very consistent with exactly which holes he hits, how he hits them. He's phenomenal at what I call climbing the staircase, where you run directly at a potential tackler and then kind of get them to come up field at you so you can straighten out their angle, and then you cut to the side. The jump cuts are crazy. He's great at pressing gaps, where he will kind of lean the run toward one gap. If you have a defensive lineman that's going to try to flash across, you'll sort of lure that defensive lineman to flash across, but before then leaning kind of back into the original gap and sort of defeating a defender that way that otherwise wouldn't have been defeated. He's great at that kind of stuff, but getting a little long in the tooth. So he might not have the talent that somebody younger like Breece Hall has and that we saw on plenty of display. I think this is great for the Jets. This absolutely answers a question. I think it's good for Dalvin Cook too, in terms of if you're like a dynasty Dalvin Cook fantasy owner. I think it's good for you too, because you have a survey. Dalvin Cook doesn't have to be the bell cow like he was in Minnesota. That's a little bit less punishment. He might be able to stay a little bit healthier. So I think it's kind of good for everybody.
Yeah, I think so. I think this works really great for Breece Hall as well. You're right. He had an ACL tear in his left knee last year. It was in week 7 against the Denver Broncos. Also had a meniscus injury that was kind of a part of that too. Sometimes we see those things compounded. And, but look, he was off to a start that a lot of people were saying was offensive rookie of the year, quality. And of course his teammate Garrett Wilson ended up winning it. So great for the New York Jets one way or another, but 80 carries, averaged 5.8 yards per carry. And he also added 19 receptions and being a good receiving back. I mean, I think that like what we know about the NFL is that you want in the NFL, you want more than one running back. You want these guys to be able to operate a little bit as either in tandem or as a group or however it may be. And so I think when you have an aging quarterback or a young quarterback, right, guys that are on either side of the extreme, having multiple passing options out of the backfield makes a ton of sense for Aaron Rodgers too. So this really does feel like something that just makes sense all around. Makes sense for Dalvin Cook, makes sense for Breece Hall, makes sense for Aaron Rodgers, makes sense for the Green Bay Packers as a whole. I love this for not the Green Bay Packers. I'm sorry. I said Aaron Rodgers and look at me. I went into autopilot. The New York Jets.
Oh, they might as well be.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I brought Alan Lazard over, Randall Cobb's over there talking on Hard Knocks.
Big City Packers.
You're right. And now we get to see Dalvin Cook on Hard Knocks too, which is super fun, right? Because now we'll get like the real side of all these other stories and whatever it may be. And maybe get a little bit of thought from him in terms of how the running back market has shaped over the course of this offseason, which was something that was a big deal.
Yeah. And Dalvin Cook gets $8.6 million in a 1-year deal worth up to
There you go.
So there's incentives there probably. That's according to Adam Schefter. I would bet dollars to donuts that's more than he would have gotten if he stayed in Minnesota. So this whole adventure works out for him. Yeah. Speaking of the running back market. And I think another winner here is Nathaniel Hackett. Look, Nathaniel Hackett was in Green Bay with Rodgers in a year when they had like Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones, and they were doing all kinds of bubble screens and stuff where, Rodgers doesn't have the arm he used to have. And that sort of, I'll call it Mickey Mouse stuff, but I'm not trying to be derogatory about that. Just sort of those layups, those sort of quick little easy things that somebody like Peyton Manning made a living off of going to the Hall of Fame. In his later years, it helps to enable that kind of stuff because those stupid little screens and those little yards after the catch plays, Dalvin Cook was always phenomenal at that stuff. So you get another weapon that can do that kind of thing and be the outlet, and you can start to build an offense like the one that Green Bay had in 2020 and 2021 when Aaron Rodgers was back-to-back MVP. That's got to be what the Jets are going for here, and you can really see the vision.
Yeah. Great selection or great stuff, great signing rather for the New York Jets, and obviously a good setup there for Dalvin Cook. I like the idea of running backs right now, especially with kind of the wacky market, taking the incentive heavy deals, because then it's like, look, you have to pay me if I have the production at that point. Right. I really
and it's
like
up to me, if I don't get the yards, I don't get the yards, and it's a little bit easier to accept.
100%. All right, coming up next, we're going to take a look at another running back that signed a deal, Ezekiel Elliott, now with the New England Patriots. Who's stopping that running back room? We have that coming up for you as we continue on with today's episode of Locked On NFL.
Vinny Iyer has teamed up with eBay Motors to bring you some of the best fantasy picks each week for all season long. And we're preseason, so we're talking about draft situations. But what if you need one of those late starters? Well, Vinny Iyer has a whole bunch of recommendations. One of them is the quarterback that I cover, Kirk Cousins. If you want the safest steady Eddie ever, Kirk Cousins is always there for you in the late rounds. He never misses a game. He is, I don't think, ever missed a game due to injury. He got COVID once. That was it. And he's always good for a nice high floor of production, because even if the game is going poorly, he'll find a way to get those garbage time yards or lead comeback attempts. And with Justin Jefferson, he'll always have somebody really good to throw to. So if you are sitting there thinking, man, I need a quarterback, all the Mahomeses and Jalen Hurtses and all the good guys are gone, and you just need someone that's going to be there for you and not put up any stupid duds of games, Kirk Cousins, absolutely that guy. And that's kind of the thing when you go through a redraft where you need to find the right fit. That's what fantasy football is all about, fitting the right pieces in the right places. And it's the same with your vehicle. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, over 122 million parts and accessories for your vehicle are available right at your fingertips to make sure your ride stays running smoothly. Whether it's air filters, brakes, batteries, taillights, alternators, whatever it can be, you name it, eBay Motors has it, and they will help you make sure that it is the right fit for your car. That can be such a jungle to navigate. Is this the right thing and the right model? Is it going to fit with mine and my year and all that stuff? They can help you with all of that because eBay Guaranteed Fit helps you understand exactly what part you need for your vehicle. So turn the AC on and stop sweating, because now you will be set up for success with eBay Guaranteed Fit. For the parts and accessories that fit your vehicle, just look for that green check. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices at ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
All right, everybody, continuing on with this episode of Locked On NFL. We appreciate you as always. All you everydayers out there making Locked On NFL your first listen of the day every day. Thank you very much for being here with us. Luke Braun and Ross Jackson here. Now we're taking a look at the next big move, or the next running back domino to fall. This was Ezekiel Elliott signing with the New England Patriots. I made a little joke a second ago there saying who's going to stop this running back room, and I kind of did that sarcastically. But I want to make sure that I say this. I think Rhamondre Stevenson is outstanding. And so part of me like making this joke is that the more that we see Ezekiel Elliott, the less we get to see Rhamondre Stevenson. I think that's my big issue with this one. 210 carries, 1,040 yards last year, as it's an average of 5 per. He also added like just over 100 receiving yards, things like that. But like we were just talking about with Dalvin Cook and Breece Hall, you want to be able to have a committee or multiple backs that you can rely on, things like that in today's NFL. So I totally get the signing, and I'm mostly just cracking jokes because here we are talking about like Dalvin Cook, but we do get this Ezekiel Elliott deal as well.
Well, so I'm trying to look at like red zone stuff for the New England Patriots last year, because this feels like what that is for. This is a red zone guy right now. And that's what Zeke is. And I mean, again, Zeke is a veteran running back that knows where to go, knows what hole to hit, and can absolutely. I mean, I think once these guys hit free agency and we look at them and they're, they've been around for a while, we tend to think of these as these like chewed up sort of how much gas does he have left in the tank? The way you talk about a wide receiver that's 35,
right? Yeah.
But no, both these guys, Zeke and Dalvin Cook, these guys can play. So again, you get this sort of redundancy, this insurance policy against each other getting hurt. And what I think for this is this feels like it's better for Ezekiel Elliott than it is for the Patriots. He gets a deal worth up to $6 million. I'm not as familiar with what the Cowboys were going to offer him if he were to accept a pay cut to stay in Dallas or anything like that. I'm sure those conversations were broached. I'm not as intimately familiar. You have to go to Locked On Cowboys for that. But a deal worth up to $6 million feels like fine. I don't know. Dalvin Cook got 2.5 more, and who knows how much of that is incentives and guaranteed and all that stuff. So maybe Zeke's deal is, or maybe Dalvin Cook's deal has like some funny money in it or something. But it feels like that's just okay money. But for the Patriots themselves, I think I'm with you. We're like, this should be Rhamondre Stevenson's team. And hey, if Zeke comes in and he's a goal line guy, he's a short yardage guy, he's a spell back, he just comes in as, on your third and threes. And maybe he'll get a drive here or there just to sort of keep things mixed up, change of pace. Then I think that that's excellent. But if it's more than a rotational role, it feels, I don't know. I feel like Rhamondre Stevenson does a lot for the Patriots, but Ezekiel Elliott is a versatile back. Like, he's one of the best pass pro running backs in the league. And I think that goes underrated
about him. He's a great run blocker or pass blocker for sure.
And that is so important in a passing league. You have to be able to be on the field when they're throwing and do something useful. And Zeke can absolutely do that. So I don't want to sell him too short. I'm super curious to see how this Patriots backfield actually plays out from a fantasy perspective. If you have Rhamondre Stevenson, if you draft him or dynasty or whatever, this is a catastrophe because he's taking all the goal line reps.
Right. Yes. He's going to keep Rhamondre Stevenson out of the end zone.
He's going to vulture so bad.
No, 100%. I think the thing for me, though, is that like, a guy coming in and being your red zone guy, being your like third and short guy, being your pass protector, $6 million just feels like a lot for that role, man. Like, I think that's my big thing. I feel like this is an offense that's going to run the ball a lot. That's what's helped Mac Jones in the past with this offense, is run the ball. And so I don't know. I'm very, very curious. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's just a high volume run offense. And so you want to have two backs that you can rely on, and you're going to do what you need to do to get somebody in there, because I agree. I could see Zeke helping from that angle.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I just looked it up for just my frame of reference. The Vikings have $3.5 million a year average for Alexander Mattison, who's supposed to be their lead back, which is kind of like, okay, yeah, 6 million is probably up. But again, it's up to. So there might be incentives in there that if you use him rotationally that he won't hit or whatever, it might be something a little bit more sensible. But I guess then I started thinking about it, and then I was like, I don't know, this kind of feels like contemplating like local ordinances in Omaha, Nebraska. Yeah. Like this is the currently, this is the last place team in the AFC East, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's the projection. I think
FanDuel, it's got to be.
I would expect at this point. And so, I mean, is this a thing that's going to move the needle for the New England Patriots? I don't know, but you gotta do something, right? You can't just sit there.
Yeah, you can't just sit there and get fourth, for sure.
Right.
And, and I don't want to be one of those like national shows that just goes, well, that team's not going to win the division. Nothing they do ever matters, because that's obviously no fun. But I do think that they need to kind of hope that it's more of a needle mover than I guess it projects to be.
Yeah. And let's not forget that the most important person on the New England Patriots roster is still there. And I guess it's not really the roster, but in the organization, is Bill Belichick. And as long as Bill Belichick's in the building, I don't care what players he's got, you expect that he's going to win some games and things like that, like without a doubt. So
I thought you were just going to have like the most scorching Kyle Duggar take I've ever heard.
Ooh, listen, the most important player on that New England Patriots roster, the one, the only. Matt Judon actually is the one that I would really say.
Yeah, fair
like
enough.
Matt Judon, 100%. And so, like, if the defense, like, that's the formula, right? If the defense can win in New England, and then you have this, two-headed backfield of Rhamondre Stevenson and Ezekiel Elliott, and then I'm sure that there's another running back to get involved there. There's always a third guy to get involved. And all of a sudden, like, okay, maybe we're talking. Like, this could be one of those really annoying, 12 personnel,
beating up bruisey kind of teams that sneaks out 8 wins and is in the hunt at the end of the year.
Oh, I just got more excited that I don't think I'm excited about the New England Patriots all of a sudden.
I mean, yeah.
Like, that's my football right there.
Belichick will always win you a couple of games that he's not favored to win. And he's Belichick, right? Like, that's what he does.
I love it. All right, well, we'll see how it goes. I kind of talked myself into it as we continue through there, though. But
there you have it.
But I'm just really, really, really interested to see what the usage for Ezekiel Elliott is going to be, and we'll see. We'll see when it gets there. But he's on a team, and that's great. More running back signing, we love it.
These situations are playing out.
Yeah, 100%. Running backs returning to the field. We also have another exciting return to the field. And Damar Hamlin getting back out there, not just for training camp, not just for some OTAs, nope, for some preseason action. We got Yike and Like coming up as we wrap up today's episode of Locked On NFL. All right, everybody, wrapping up this edition of Locked On NFL. We looked at the big signings for the two big running backs. And now we're going to take a look at our Yike and our Like here for the day. Luke, would you like to kick us off? You want to go positive or negative today? Which way should we start?
Let's get the negative out of the way.
Let's get the negative out of the way. I love it.
As preseason games started, certain teams can't keep their secrets anymore. And one of the secrets that I think the San Francisco 49ers didn't really want us to pay too much attention to, but we all saw it, Kyle. We all saw Sam Darnold play over Trey Lance. You can't tell us that that's some weird coachy thing you're doing and shaking up. No, that's the depth chart, dude. Your 3 first-round picks guy is playing behind Sam Darnold. And Brock Purdy's not even playing in the preseason because he's already won the starting job. Oh, man. That is going to go down in history as one of the, like, here's the thing about these sort of draft misses is you don't feel them right away. Because the 49ers are still, I think, second in, I just had it up, in FanDuel odds to win the NFC. Yeah, second behind the Eagles to win the NFC. So it's easy to ignore right now, but in 2-3 years without a first round pick and maybe having to get rid of players to recoup that as the cap starts to sort of catch up with what they've done here, they're going to feel it. And this Trey Lance disaster thing is going to create a very, very dark chapter of San Francisco 49ers history.
I have a little bit of advice for John Lynch to help in this situation. Just a little bit of advice, especially when it comes to your cap space. Kick it all down the road. Just keep pushing it. Ignore it. It's not a problem. La, 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 la. Just kick it down the road. Do what you got to do. You'll be fine. Here's my question
like a
for
Manhattan real estate mogul and just live in inordinate debt for your whole life and not care about it.
That's right. That's exactly right. Well, who am I leaving it to? You know what I mean? Exactly. Nobody. You can have it.
I'll pay it when I'm dead.
That's it. 100%. Ain't my problem no more. So there's been a lot of people that have connected the idea of like Kirk Cousins being the future San Francisco 49ers quarterback. I'm sure you've heard this a bunch. If that happens, let's just say Trey Lance ends up in Minnesota. You, the Vikings expert here on the Locked On Podcast Network, does that come
this for so long?
Say again?
Because he's a Minnesota guy.
He's a Minnesota guy, right? And so if that happens, do you come to this show on the Tuesday after that happens and list Trey Lance joining the Minnesota Vikings as the apparent next starting quarterback as a yike or a like?
I certainly don't talk about it because I don't feel like this show is necessarily served by talking about backup quarterback news in the NFL.
Okay, understood.
It's just not big time enough. I mean, it's the kind of thing where he'll like play out his contract or whatever, be done, hit free agency, and then he's like competing with a rookie or something in Minnesota. Something bigger happened that week.
Fair enough. All right. Let's get to my yike. We're getting the negative out of the way so we can finish on a positive note here. My yike is Russell Wilson. Just kind of like in general, but
just in him being Russ being Russ.
My goodness. But mostly the preseason game. He played four drives in the preseason game. Your starting quarterback, 4 drives. I don't know if that's a yike towards Sean Payton in terms of like, yo, like chill. Like you need that dude for like the actual season, right?
Garrett Stidham will save us.
I don't know, man. That felt very much to me. What I would like to say it is basically Sean saying like, we're starting over here. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, party's over.
Yeah. Like you ain't got no office no more. You ain't got your own, medical staff no more. Like this is my joint now. Okay. Mm. And then no pun intended, Denver. And so I think that like, that is one of those things where you put him out there, he struggles and you get him through the struggle. And then now you kind of reconvene. You're like, all right, now here's what we do to fix it. But man, what a risk though. Like that just feels risky.
Yeah,
that's rough,
man. I can't do that. I want to just go straight into the positive.
Yeah, do it.
And talk about Deuce Vaughn was one of the cooler draft stories with his dad and all, and getting drafted to the Cowboys in particular. Mm-hmm. And now he's showing out in the preseason, which, hey, some of us have been new. But look, all you had to do was watch him. But what a win for Short Kings everywhere, man.
Shout out Short
Kings.
Kings.
Watching that little twerp dance around. It's so frustrating. If you talk to like big D linemen and like linebackers that are 6'5", and these stupid little Muggsy Bogues, little Tweety birds are running around and you cannot tackle them, nothing pisses them off. All they want to do is lay that dude out and they can't catch him. I love it so much. I am a Deuce Vaughn stan for life. If Deuce Vaughn has a million fans, I am one of them. And if he has 1 fan, I am that fan.
I love that. I love that a ton. I am a big fan of what Deuce Vaughn has been doing. Deuce Vaughn, excuse me, big fan of what Deuce Vaughn has been doing. I swapped the vowels there. But And if you want to hear a big celebration around Deuce Vaughn, Locked On Cowboys. Like Marcus and Landon have been talking about Deuce Vaughn all training camp. They've been so excited about him, and rightfully so.
Some of us have been new.
And I'll wrap up here on a good note. Damar Hamlin. Damar Hamlin, man, there's like everything that this guy went through. You and I had conversations like that Monday night game. Like we came on here and did a show, after everything that had gone down with him. Guy that literally lost his life / almost lost his life on the field, is recognized at the ESPYs, has all this other stuff. And then he like returns to training camp and he's out there. And then he goes on to, beyond all things, actually play like a considerable amount of snaps in a preseason game. You saw him getting involved in like pass pressure as a supplemental pass rusher in blitz. You saw him do, get involved in run defense. Like you really saw sort of we always talk about when there's an injury, there's a physical side of the injury, and then there's a mental side of the injury that you have to get past. Can I trust my ankle? Can I trust my knee?
There is play that speed again.
Right. There is no bigger mental recovery that had to be made than the one that Damar Hamlin has made so quickly. And it's amazing. It's incredible. Like I stub my toe in the morning and I don't want to do the rest of the day.
Yeah. You got to go home and reset.
Yeah. Like I'm finished. I'm out of here. The Saints are like, hey, we've got practice. I'm like, y'all got practice. I'm staying home.
It's hot out.
Right. Yes. And Damar Hamlin goes out there and literally puts his life on the line for the thing that he loves. And as soon as he can be back out on a football field, what's he doing? He's back out on a football field. That's awesome. That's really cool.
Football is so unforgiving. And to be out there again is great and all, and to be fighting. But reports out of Buffalo that he's fighting for a roster spot. Right. The Damar Hamlin waived during cutdown day headline is going to hit like a truck filled with bricks.
It's going to be wild.
But then, hey,
you got to imagine.
But it's going to be another thing. And that's the way these football stories go. These football career stories are always this series of ups and downs where he's in the up right now. I'm back and I'm playing and I beat it. And then if he gets cut, that's going to be a down. And then he might get signed somewhere else again and get another chance. It's the way all these do, is you get cut once, your career doesn't just end there. Right.
Who's in need of some good pub? Washington always needs good pub.
Yeah, Washington needs some good publicity. Cleveland desperately, but I don't know if but I mean, he's a roster bubble player on the Bills. And I think it's important to remember that too, that he was a backup that was in because Micah Hyde got hurt, and not to deify this dude that's just playing ball. That's just a guy trying to make a living in the league. And it's cool that I can say that because he's gotten to the point where he's just a dude again, and he is not. The miracle happened, and now we just play ball. And in a sort of strangely optimistic sense, that rules.
Yeah. I'm with you. All right, y'all. Awesome stuff. Can I say that? Can I say awesome stuff? I'm going to say awesome stuff. Awesome stuff from us today. We did great. If you want to catch more, Tony and James will be back in tomorrow's episode on Wednesday, getting you ready with the biggest questions around the NFL. Obviously, there was some heartbreaking news around the NFL as well with the passing of Alex Collins, which took everyone by surprise. Locked on Ravens, Locked on Seahawks, your destination for that news as well. And we've got you covered with every one of your favorite teams around the Locked On Podcast Network too. We appreciate you as always making Locked On NFL your first listen of the day every day. For Luke Braun, I'm Ross Jackson. We'll see you here again soon on Locked On NFL, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.